President Trump confirming a large-scale immigration crackdown will begin this weekend. Major cities are preparing for ICE raids on Sunday, targeting thousands of illegal immigrants. The president defending the operation.
People come into our country illegally. We're taking them out legally. What the Democrats should be doing now is they should be changing the loopholes. They should be changing asylum. We have millions of people standing online waiting to become citizens of this country. It's not fair that somebody walks across the line and now they've become citizens of the United States. Nothing to be secret about. If the word gets out, it gets out. We're taking them out by the thousands.
Wow.
Democrats are furious with the president's plans. Nancy Pelosi now being criticized for giving illegal immigrants this advice.
An ICE deportation warrant is not the same as a search warrant. If that is the only document ICE brings to a home raid, agents do not have the legal right to enter a home. If ICE agents don't have a warrant signed by a judge, a person may refuse to open the door and let them in.
Joy Behar also causing controversy by comparing the upcoming raids to what happened in Nazi Germany.
Trump intends to move forward with his immigration raids targeting migrant families this weekend. I thought it was supposed to be gangs coming from these places, not families with children. He's going to, raid these people's houses and what have you. It's very reminiscent of Nazi Germany, just saying.
Wow, so this is like an intense moment. So, Jesse, let's just start with the Pelosi, advice to people who are here illegally, that they don't have to respond to a simple immigration warrant, that they need a search warrant to open the door. What do you think?
So you have congresswomen saying don't follow and comply with the law that Congress passed. Everything that's happening here is completely illegal. If you have an illegal immigrant crossing the border, they get caught by Border Patrol, you detain them, you process them, they get a hearing in front of an immigration judge. If they apply for asylum or if they just want to come here for work, the judge says, yes, you can stay, or no, and issues a deportation hearing, proceeding. Then ICE will come, because they do interior enforcement, to a house, apprehend, and deport. That's the law that Congress passed years ago. The executive branch is enforcing that law, and a judge is signing off on everything. So you have the executive, judicial, and legislative branches all working together harmoniously, but you have Democrats saying, don't follow the laws of our country. They want American citizens to follow the laws, but they don't want illegal aliens. So at this point, you have to think, do they want any enforcement? They don't want it in the interior. They don't want it at the border. They don't want you to have to stay in the country that you are and apply. When you get there, they don't want you detained. If you commit a crime in a sanctuary city, they don't want to let ICE know about it. They don't even want the federal government to ask you a question, are you a U.S. citizen? But what they do want, they want to give you an American job. They want to give you a driver's license, in-state college tuition, and they want to give you free health insurance. So at this point, the Democrats are the party of open borders, and that's just a fact.
Just a quick question on this. Isn't it the case that she's saying, here is the law as it's written? So she's not saying violate the law. She's saying follow the law.
No, if you are issued a deportation order from a judge in America, you have to follow that order.
Right, okay. Dana, so what we're also seeing is that Hillary Clinton, as well as Pelosi, are saying, hey, this is heartless. People go to church on Sunday, and you're breaking down doors.
Oh, that's really, oh, okay, right. Got it. So neglecting to enforce the law for a couple of decades on these enforcement orders means that this problem just gets harder. And unless America is going to say, okay, then everybody's here illegally, you can stay. If we're going to say that, then we should have that debate, and then the laws would have to change. I don't think anybody's actually saying that. The fact that we have so many illegal immigrants here, that is hurting people who want to immigrate here legally. The number of stories of people who are stuck in the process, who are stuck in the paperwork, because there's not enough resources to figure out how to get them here legally. We need people to come here. We need people to come and work and to want to raise their families here. I would also say that, like what Joy Behar said, it's so atrocious because Jews were targeted because of who they were, not because of what they had done. Right? These were citizens of Germany. They were paying taxes, and they were comparing Nazi Germany to this is really bad. President Trump also said today, we're focused on criminals as much as we can. And I believe that because the Department of Homeland Security is under such extreme scrutiny, and they've telegraphed for 6 weeks that these raids are coming, that imagine how everyone's going to be out and about in these cities ready to film anything, to try to catch anything that would make it look like they are being insensitive. And it is going to be heart-wrenching. People who are here for a long time, they have ties, but if they've committed a crime in the United States and they have a deportation order, and the President of the United States decides to execute on those orders, then I think they have to follow the law. For as hard as it might be to watch, it is actually what needs to be done. And the fact that we haven't done it for decades means it just gets worse the longer we don't do it.
By the way, Greg, so yesterday we had the news that the president was not going to continue his efforts to put a question about citizenship status on the census.
Yes.
So is this now just a political step to say, hey, Democrats, you better get on board and start doing what I want? And the illegal immigrants are the ones who are going to feel the brunt of this over the weekend.
Well, before I go any further, I'd like to be sworn in.
All right. We usually don't require that.
Yeah, but no, I'd want to be sworn in, damn it. Okay. To the point about yesterday or whatever day that was, I loved his solution. Using databases that we already had. It totally destroys all the objections about it violating this or violating that, and it may be more accurate to answering the census question. That's pretty badass. I have to say, he's not President Trump. He's President MacGyver. He figured out a way to solve the problem with the tools that he had, and only somebody who's been in business understands this. Politicians sat there and focused on this problem for so long, and he says, I'll just go around back and fix this myself. He is solving these problems using two key movers in human nature. One of them is fairness, and the other is incentives. Fairness, people who did it the right way. People who waited in line. It is not fair to cut in line. And that everybody understands that, especially minorities who come from other countries who waited in line. The process matters because then everybody's treated fairly. That's human nature. Incentives. What he's doing right now is predicated on the Republican gift for disincentives. Word gets out that we're going to deport people who are there illegally, disincentivizes people from coming here. It's the opposite of waving caravans through. So these are two things that human beings understand. Fairness and incentives. These are two things that the Democrats can't get into their thick skulls. And that's why they're losing the American public and they're devouring themselves. And now I'd like to be sworn in.
Thank you, Deputy Gutfeld. Thank you. Emily, one of the questions about this is if you are going after people who are undocumented and haven't shown up for court dates, is it possible that you then sweep up people who really have been living here, families together, done nothing wrong? I mean, in fact, paying taxes and working, but they're going to get swept up in all the activity this weekend.
I think that's true and unrelated. If you mean swept up, but they are the subject of final deportation orders, then that's the whole point. And to respond to what both of you guys were saying, I think that the outcry over the enforcement of the existing laws ignores the fact that there are built-in safety features within the process itself. The final deportation order means that all appeals have been exhausted. Even if the immigrant just reserves or waives or reserves the right to appeal, that automatically stays the entire proceeding. There are and more safety features built in. So are we calling into question the judge's order, the judge's judgment? Are we calling into question the policies, the 90 days that ICE has to then deport? Like, if so, then let's change it, Congresspeople, or voters, or what else do our tax dollars pay for? There are estimates of hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million, that are here with final deportation orders.
1 million?
For us, yes. For us to ignore that, or for us to pick and choose what laws we want to enforce, why wouldn't we pick and choose every other law? So when you say that it's up to us to basically exemplify and model what's going on, like, absolutely, because what other message are we sending? And I would think that it would be incumbent upon all of us to appreciate that, because the rest of us that are here should know that our government does prioritize enforcing laws, because otherwise, shouldn't I be scared 24 hours a day that anything can happen because a Democrat said, oh, no, but not this one.
Yeah.
It's a Sunday.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Vice President Pence is visiting detention facilities in McAllen, Texas, amid growing criticism over treatment of migrants at the border. He arrived there just a short time ago. To someone who is dealing with this crisis, though, firsthand, Customs and Border Protection Deputy Commissioner Robert Perez joins us now. Robert, I'm sure you listened to the testimony on Capitol Hill, particularly of elected officials who described horrific, inhumane conditions and treatment toward those migrants. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, good to be with you, Charles. Look, we have been in Customs and Border Protection and the Department of Homeland Security sounding the alarm on the overcrowding and the unprecedented migration crisis for the better part of 18 months. And look, we've been open and honest about that discussion. We've been very transparent. And in fact, we've invited congressional delegations every month, multiple times, the members and their staffs, in addition to all the other oversight that we've had, to our facilities so that they could see firsthand the challenges that we have been facing. I think it's universally accepted now that we, in fact, do have a crisis, that we have facilities that were never outfitted or built to deal with the volume or demographic that we are dealing with right now. It took about almost 2 months for us to get supplemental funding, but we finally got that. That's going to help alleviate some of that congestion. And now we need targeted changes to the legal framework to get to the heart of the matter, Charles. Look, alien smuggling organizations are profiting on the back of this crisis, on the back of children, by virtue of smuggling children and using them as virtual passports across our border, and or even recycling them at times to profit their illegal endeavors. And so the targeted changes to the legal framework absolutely have to change to end this crisis.